Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. Well, it is a good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here, you there, here on this Thursday night at 9:02 with 31 seconds to go. Right along with it, afternoon day game for the Rays today in Yankee Stadium. They take a 10-5 victory and a series sweep in the Bronx. A lot of historic stuff. Of course, we know the first time that the Rays have swept the Yankees in the Bronx since, I believe, 2014, 2016, along those lines. It's been a really long time. Also, the first team since, I believe, 1990 to sweep a series in Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium in the same road trip. The Rays also finish off a 9-1 road trip after their first road trip, which was 0-5. They're now 9-6 on the road, 17-9 overall. They dropped the Yankees to 16-9, so you know what that means. The Tampa Bay Rays are now standing alone atop the American League East in first place. We'll be with you. We're going to try and keep it a relatively short program tonight, taking you up until about 9:30 or so. A number to call if you want to get on the show. Talk sports. We've got a lot of stuff happening, not just Rays. If you want to talk some other baseball, that's good too. Number to call would be 877-566-1020. Also some playoff basketball, some playoff hockey. Really a lot of things to discuss, and we'd love to have you be a part of the program. We had a caller last night, and keep that rolling. Again, number to call, 877-566-1020 at WHBC Stream. You can reach us on there as well as a little chat feature built into the Spreaker website where you are listening to this. Again, we'll be with you until about 9:30. We'll give you not really going to do a lot of sports updates, so we'll just give you kind of the scores as we go along. I just want to get this out of the way since it is relatively new news. The NBA draft lottery took place tonight, and 1 through 14, it'll be the Timberwolves picking first, the Warriors second, Hornets 3, Bulls 4, Cavaliers 5, the Atlanta Hawks 6, Pistons 7, the Knicks picking 8, the Wizards 9, Suns 10, Spurs 11, the Sacramento Kings 12, the Pelicans 13, and the Boston Celtics last picking number 14. I believe that must have been a pick that they had traded from someone else. Notable, obviously, the Minnesota Timberwolves, not really expected to get the number one pick. I know they had one of the worst records. The Knicks, I know, I believe, had the worst record, and the fact that they're picking 8, what's new for the Knicks? They catch more bad breaks. They probably should have had the first overall pick last year to be able to pick Zion, and the Pelicans get lucky and end up getting the number one pick. This year they will be picking 13, so they don't quite get as lucky this time around. The Warriors also pick second, so they'll get one of the top prospects. Unknown, LaMelo Ball is the most talked about prospect, the center from Kentucky, I believe, and then there's a guard from Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. So again, the Timberwolves will be picking first. That is the most notable. I would expect them maybe to trade. I'm not sure. There's not like a game-breaking number one overall pick, at least as far as the talk has been. I haven't really looked at a lot of the mock drafts and whatnot, and I guess we'll go ahead and give you the scores for the basketball, a couple of games that have gone final already. The Miami Heat 109-100 over the Pacers, so the Heat take a 2-0 series lead, and also the Rockets 111-98 over the Thunder. Houston now takes a 2-0 series lead. It looks like Chris Paul's not going to be enough to keep the Thunder in this thing, and the Rockets have been pretty good in their own right. And then the Bucks 111-96 over the Magic, evening that series 1 game apiece. And tipping off here very shortly, a very highly anticipated game 2, Trailblazers and Lakers. Portland took the first game of the series in a relative upset. Looks like the Lakers are going to bounce back relatively strong. It looks like they've been kind of sleepwalking through the bubble, and obviously a red-hot Trailblazers team who's basically been playing for their playoff lives night in and night out since coming into Orlando. So maybe a law of averages, we'll see LeBron James and company bounce back. But again, Damian Lillard, he's been red hot. All the other guys on the Trailblazers, CJ McCollum, Hassan Whiteside, they've got pieces, and they take game 1 and get the momentum there. But as we saw with the Magic, game 1 might not be everything. They were pretty dominated by Milwaukee today for a Bucks team that most people anticipate will be in the NBA Finals in about a month or so. And also the hockey light action tonight. Most of the series have already wrapped. It's the Islanders early on in the second period up 1-0 over the Capitals. The Islanders lead that series 3-1. They had a 3-0 series lead, and then Ovechkin and company stole a game. So New York looking to put away this game in this series here. They're up 1-0, and they're going to have to kill another couple periods to do so. Also later tonight, the Stars and the Flames. Dallas has a 3-2 series lead. That is at 10:30 if I did not already mention. And we talked last night, a lot of series that got wrapped. The Lightning over the Blue Jackets in overtime. Braden Point with the series taking goal. We'll probably do a piece on that tomorrow. I know I had teased that for today's show, but I was going to try and keep it relatively light just because usually we're on right after a Rays game and we've got some buzz going. This, I'm not sure. Maybe not so much. Again, number to call if you want to talk Rays or anything else. 877-566-1020. Would love to have you part of the program going for about another 20 minutes or so. Also, the Bruins wrapped their series over the Hurricanes with a 2-1 win last night. So Boston, as we expect, will advance, and Carolina goes home. The Avalanche beat the Coyotes. Not much surprise there. Probably the best team coming out of the West, depending on how you feel about Vegas. And the Canadiens stay alive against the Flyers. Philly has a 3-2 series lead. It doesn't look like the Canadiens are going to be able to pull it off. The Flyers, obviously, the 1 seed. I believe they had a guy get suspended for a blindside hit. We'll see if that comes into effect. And the Canucks 4-3 over the Blues last night. They take a 3-2 series lead. So we do have a couple of series going the distance as we look ahead to tomorrow's contests. It will be the Flyers and Canadiens Game 6 and the Blues and Canucks Game 6. And if I'm not mistaken, that's probably about it unless the Capitals Islanders or the Flame Stars series ends up going the distance, Game 6 or 7 or what have you. We're thinking about maybe having Aaron on and talking some hockey. We're going to wait until all the series have wrapped. Obviously, the main story, the Tampa Bay Lightning, putting that whole Columbus thing to bed. I did about an 8-minute piece on it about a week or so ago. The heartbreak, getting swept, 62 wins in the regular season and not getting a win at all in the postseason was really one of the most historic sports upsets really in playoff history. I would say. And then to come back, they only lose a game in that series and really put the beating on Columbus. I thought was pretty good to see. The whole team looks good. Stamkos, I'm not sure what's going on with him, but of course Hedman and Braden Point has really taken over as the star of this team. I know with Kucherov and the Nat line of the real bruisers that they have going. So I mean, a really balanced team. We talked about with Aaron. The one thing that team was missing was some physicality, and they add some guys. Blake Coleman, I believe, during the deadline this year. They've added some pieces to try and shore up that one weakness, as far as, maybe not guys that are very skilled skating. We know the Tampa Bay Lightning, they can pretty much outskate any team in the league, or shooting with Stammer and the one-timers and all that. It's not necessarily about skill-wise. You need a couple of guys that can really just get on the ice and be bullies and push people around whether they have the puck or not. And the Lightning did make those additions, and it looks like at least it was good enough to get them past Columbus. The way seeding is going to work in postseason this year, they're going to reseed after every round, so we don't know exactly how it's going to shake out. I mean, if a team like the Canadiens advance, we may see them. I would anticipate we'll be seeing the Islanders at some point, but obviously there's some other teams there, just depending on how the seeding works out. I haven't seen anything necessarily as far as predictions. I mean, we look here, the Bruins we probably won't see until late, and I mean that's about it for right now. And then the basketball again game getting just underway. The Trailblazers and Lakers. We'll keep our eye on that. It looks like everyone is healthy and starting as was anticipated. Games that will be happening tomorrow: the Raptors and Nets. The Raptors 2-0 series lead. The Nuggets and the Jazz, that series tied 1 game apiece. The Celtics and 76ers. Boston is up 2-0. And Clippers and Mavericks, that series tied. So the way things are looking right now, as anticipated, the Nets can't put up much of a fight. Obviously, no Durant, no Kyrie. Not sure that team is going to be any good when those players get there either. I could just anticipate a lot of drama and not much else. We'll see. They have to hire a new coach and all that. But a Raptors, a team that was really good in the regular season, obviously lose Kawhi, so the national media attention isn't there, but they play real good team basketball. That's what got them a finals victory last year. They'll look to at least get past the Nets and then move on. I'm sure they'll be the ones facing the Bucks in the conference finals, if not maybe Boston. It looks like the Celtics are going to cruise past the 76ers. The one series I'd keep an eye on, the Clippers and Mavericks. The Mavericks, obviously, the rebuild is pretty complete at this point. They've got the pieces: Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, among some other guys that have really been doing some damage. But the Clippers, obviously a team that was supposed to meet the Lakers at probably the end of the Western Conference playoffs. We know from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Those superstars haven't done the best job of meshing this year, kind of like it was with Russell Westbrook and Paul George a season ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavericks end up taking that series. I'm not sure what their longevity is, if they can get past that series. Obviously, the Lakers, we expected to be the buzzsaw, but maybe Portland can go on some kind of legendary run, again, as Game 2 has just gotten underway. Tied at 2 about a minute into the contest, and the Islanders still 1-0 over the Caps with 13 minutes left to go in the second period. Again, number to call, 877-566-1020. Here with you about another 15 minutes or so, maybe run a little long. I'm just going to touch on today's Rays game and talk previewing tomorrow's game. It'll be Ryan Yarbrough v. Matt Shoemaker. Hopefully Yarbrough can give us a good start and give the bullpen a little bit of a rest. The Rays haven't used their B guys, but of course scoring 10 runs, it's pretty hard to not get a win when your offense is that good. Again, the series sweep over the Yankees, the first, I believe, since 2014, I want to say, was the last time the Rays swept New York in Yankee Stadium. They take first place of the American League East, now a half game up. And it looks like the Yankees series with the Mets this weekend is going to be at least postponed, at least the first game or so, as the Mets had a couple of guys test positive, I believe a player and a staff member. They didn't end up playing tonight in Miami. So that's a tough break for the Marlins as well if they have to miss some time. Obviously, we know from all the time, about 2 weeks of play that they had to miss. Then they came back relatively strong and have since kind of wavered off. And then the Cardinals just coming back to play as well. Some drama with the Reds and some of the positive tests that they've had. A lot of stuff really going on in the MLB I was listening to some stuff on the radio today, and it just, when you take a step back, obviously the Rays have been so good, and the Rays haven't had to miss any games. They've had relatively light positive COVID tests. Obviously, Austin Meadows, the headliner, Randy Rosarena, and I believe Brendan McKay in there as well. McKay ended up not even being able to heal up that shoulder. He had season-ending shoulder surgery today, and the way it looks like a labrum issue, I believe, for Mark Tompkin of the Tampa Bay Times. And we weren't sure what the timetable was going to be until after the surgery, and a timetable is still not set. But now it is unlikely. It seems that he'll be ready for spring training of next year. We talked about this with a caller said last night about, the starting rotation is kind of a weakness right now. You don't know what you're getting out of Yanni Chirinos. This may be the last year of Charlie Morton, so that's already 2 guys down. And then you're looking at just the big 3, I guess, at that point of Snell, Glasnow, and Yarbrough. And, who are the 2 guys that are going to pick up the slack? I mentioned maybe Brent Honeywell and Brendan McKay returning from injury. But neither of those guys, give you a lot of faith that they're going to come on strong and really do much of anything. Honeywell, every time he seems like he's going to be ready to play, he gets hurt. And then with McKay, the jury's still out. He looks like to be a good pitcher and a good hitter as well. The Islanders, by the way, put another goal in the net. It's now 2-0 Islanders halfway through the second period. So maybe they'll put that one away. Definitely a team that the Lightning don't want to have to see. But getting back to the Rays, it's really going to be, I mentioned this last night with the rotation, at least for this year, there's not a whole lot of worry. You string together starts when you need to. Obviously, Trevor Richards, a guy that can give you a start occasionally. He went 3 innings behind an opener today. They've got guys in the minor leagues that give you starts. But then you get into October, and it becomes a 3-man rotation. I know they had to, just the way things lined out, they did one opener day. It was Game 4 of the ALDS. It was Diego Castillo followed by Yarbrough, but of course Yarbrough could have started that game outright. But I imagine it would probably go along the same way if they were in a 5-game set this year. The way the playoffs are going to work, the first round for everyone, it's going to be 1 through 8 with the expanded playoffs, and it's just going to be a best of 3 in the top seed stadium all 3 games. So obviously you go your 1, 2, 3, and then I guess game 1 of the ALDS, if they make it that far, you would go Castillo with someone behind the opener. I'm not sure who it would be at that point. The 3-man rotation. We're going to have to see how that shakes out when we get there. Obviously, you expect at least Snell and Glasnow to get there. The debate, I guess, would be between maybe Morton and Yarbrough at that point. I would imagine it would be Morton, and then you could go Yarbrough behind an opener. But then after that, of course, you have your big 3, and you go from there. And it looks like, obviously, we're just under halfway through the season, but it looks like the Rays are a playoff team. I know the early struggles were concerning, but it looks like the Rays have put most of that to bed. The hitting with runners in scoring position is still not great. Obviously, this road trip has been red hot. The Yankees series has been, I would say, impressive, and you got to like how you feel about them. But it's a Yankees team that's extremely depleted right now again. You look at Zach Britton went on the injured list after his bad performance last night. Miguel Andujar got sent down, and then I believe it was Gleyber Torres with some hamstring tightness or something. He's going on the injured list, and I believe Judge is going to be back maybe within less a week or so, but then you're about 2 or 3 weeks away from getting Stanton if you're the Yankees, and DJ LeMahieu is about 2 or 3 weeks away as well. Obviously, they'll still probably make the postseason. The American League East, the way it shakes out right now, it's the Yankees and Rays fighting for first place, but then you look after that, it's Toronto at 12-11, and then Baltimore at 12-12. So those teams, I don't see the Orioles sticking around, and it looks like the Blue Jays are probably a year away, especially now with Bo Bichette missing some extended time, although they are riding a 5-game win streak, including sweeping a doubleheader against the Phillies today. And then the Red Sox, I would say, are pretty much out of it. They're now 9.5 games back at 7-18. So it looks like the Rays and Yankees will end up being in the postseason anyway. It's unfortunate, just kind of the way it would have been great in a 162 regular season. No expanded playoffs. This would have been a much bigger deal. The Rays overtaking the Yankees for first place, but obviously, we're not that far into a season. If it was normal with a 60 game, a little more so. So good to see, but I don't take too much meaning in it, but I would love to see the Rays continue to play well. It looks like they're back to their winning ways on the road as they have been in previous years. The pitching, I just hope, can be held together, and you got to love the way the lineup is going. They've got, some hitters hitting over 300 and really slugging it right now. Brasso, his hitting ways has continued. 0-5 performance of Meadows. And I guess what we're going to do, it's 9:20. We're going to take a little break and then come back and talk today's Rays game and preview tomorrow's game and get off the air here. Number to call for, the remaining time of the show. Please feel free to interrupt anything that I'm doing to call. We would love nothing more than to hear from our listeners. Number to call, even during the break, 877-566-1020. We'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBCStream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCStream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 636. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 9:21, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Final 10 or 15 minutes or so. Number to call to get on the program, 877-566-1020. Number to call at WHBC Stream. If you want to tweet us your thoughts on there, that would be fine as well. We're going to be talking tonight's 10-5 Rays win. We'll start with the lineup the way things started off. There were some pinch hit decisions made. We'll get into that when we get to it. We'll start from the outfield from left to right. It was Meadows in left, Margot in center, Renfroe in right, and then the infield from left to right. Starting at third base, it was Yandy at third, Adames at short. At second base, it was Wendell, and playing first base was Brasso. It was Zunino catching, and obviously it was John Curtis opening, and he was the starting pitcher. And the way the lineup shook out, it was Brasso, Meadows, Diaz, followed by Martinez, Renfroe, and Adames, and a bottom three of Margot, Wendell, and Zunino. Main takeaways just right off the bat. Obviously, Brasso has obviously proven his value as a leadoff man. Knocked in a run, scored a run, had a hit and a walk. He's now batting .382 with a .436 on base percentage. He's really been a timely hitter. He had a pinch hit, I believe, RBI yesterday. That was the difference maker in a 4-2 win. So you got to love what you're seeing from Brasso right now. As I said last night, his stock, as far as the Rays are concerned, is through the roof. Meadows, I guess you could call it a little bit of a slump if you want. He goes 0 for 5 today. No walks and a strikeout. His average is now down to 246. But you still like him to lead off against righties. I understand with the left-handed packs, and you go Brasso, the righty, to lead off. I understand all that. Diaz got his first home run. We'll talk about that. It was in garbage time, and we'll talk about it was a bit of a short home run. He goes 2 for 5, scores twice, though, and knocks in 2. His average is now up to 276, and his on-base percentage, 394. He's nearly getting on base 40% of the time. We know from the walks and all that. I believe 90% of his hits are singles, so it's not exactly that power that we've seen a year ago. And this was something that Dave and Andy brought up on the broadcast today. When the Rays brought in Diaz, obviously the trade that sent Bowers to Cleveland, and Diaz was a guy that hit a lot of ground balls with the Indians, but the thought was if they can tinker with his swing, is Yandy Diaz, and that power, those 110 mile an hour balls off the bat, if we can just get that a little higher in the air, he'll hit a lot of home runs. And really, they never really changed his swing. They just, Diaz just happened to have a good year and was really seeing the ball well, including a couple of home runs that was a difference maker in a wild card game in Oakland, and I believe didn't do much the rest of the postseason. But he was a slugger at times. Hits his first home run. He's been really hot on this road trip. Let's just say that his average up to 276. So you like what you're seeing from there. Jose Martinez cleaned up, which I mentioned on Twitter at WHBC stream before the game. I really like that move. He goes 0 for 2 today with a strikeout. Ends up getting pinch hit for, but it works out. Lau ends up walking in a pinch hit. He goes 0 for 2, so his 10-game hitting streak comes to an end. Does Brandon Lau. He got the off day today, which is understandable. Renfroe goes 0 for 2, gets pinch hit for. And then you look at the lineup. Margot goes 1 for 3. Scores twice and knocks in a run. You like really what he's doing. His average is all the way up to 288. So on this road trip alone, his batting average has gone up nearly 200 points. He's really gone on a tear. Obviously, struggled to start the year. He left the team to deal with the death of his father. Had to go back home to, I believe, the Dominican Republic. And then he's come back and has done really nothing since but hit the baseball and hit it well. He's been good defensively as well. He played well in center today. So not exactly a platoon, but to give Kiermaier a day off, especially against lefties, I think is what Catch is going to do when you have a guy in Margot that can play center, kind of like a Guillermo Heredia type, but I like what Margot can do on the offensive side of the plate a little bit better as well, and he had a bunt single yesterday and one over the weekend against Buffalo, and that was something that I had hammered home as well as situational hitting, kind of bunting, stuff like that the Rays don't necessarily do. I have a feeling that's going to come up in a big spot later. So you like what you're seeing from Margot. Wendell, I absolutely love him in the bottom of the order. I would love to see him more as an 8 and 9 hitter, but in the lineup consistently. Obviously, Brandon Lau getting the off day. Usually we're going to see him at second base, but Wendell, a guy that can play third and shortstop, and even occasionally the corner outfields. He goes 2 for 4, scores twice, knocks in 3. His average up to 281 on base nearly 35% of the time. And Zunino hitting a home run in the second straight game. So with all the Zunino hate, I guess, from the Rays fans, he's been playing well offensively. I don't think it's going to stick. He's still batting only 118. But, I mean, ultimately he's in the lineup because he's a good defensive catcher. The pitchers like throwing to him. Obviously, Kevin Cash, a former catcher in the MLB himself, he understands the value of all that. So you get it from that perspective. I don't know what Zunino's future is going to be with the Rays past this year. Ronaldo Hernandez looks like to be the future of that position, but he's not quite ready yet. Again, he has not played a game above the AA level, so I don't know if we're going to see him in the majors this year. He's on the taxi squad currently, but he had a really good summer camp. We know from the scrimmage. We have a chat on the speaker. I totally forgot to check it. It was Steven. He says, could the Rays legitimately finish the season first in the East? And that's a good question. I would say yes. The way the Yankees are right now, they're going to probably miss some time, at least this weekend, or maybe just a game or two. This weekend series for them against the Mets is not going to happen. The New York Mets had a positive COVID test. They didn't play against the Marlins, and they're not going to play the Yankees probably this weekend. But like I said, the injuries, Stanton and LeMahieu are both going to be out for another 2 or 3 weeks. Judge looks like he'll be coming back. Paxton is going on the injured list, it looks like, after a bit of a rough outing today. Britton just went on the injured list, so even the bullpen isn't the way it once was, and obviously with the way Boone has been managing it, he's not helping him out. Ottavino came in and took the loss today. So all these guys that were supposed to be great, I know Chapman is back. We didn't see him in 3 games, which was kind of surprising. The rotation is not great. Garrett Cole, obviously, but now without Paxton, you're looking like you're going to have to put Jay Happ back in the rotation, and it's just really, whatever they can get from Montgomery, I know he's decent, but it's really Garrett Cole and Tanaka, and Masahira has not looked great his last couple times out. So it's a Yankees team that I think, honestly, I would expect to go on a bit of a slide here. Really frustrated. They never get swept in the Bronx. That's not something that happens. It's different without fans in there this year, although they did win their first 10 games at home. The Rays certainly spoiled that and how. So to answer your question, Steven, I say the Rays could legitimately finish in first place in the East. Hopefully the Rays don't have to miss any time. I know they'll be playing the Mets relatively soon, in about a month's time. So obviously their COVID stuff is going to be straightened out by that time. And again, the schedule, this was really the hardest part, this 10-game road trip, and they aced it going 9-1 in the road trip. They're going to come home and play the Blue Jays and the Orioles. That's really going to determine if they're going to get a playoff spot, because if you do well in that homestand, it's basically just a two-man race for two spots. It's going to be just the Rays and Yankees fighting over first place. They're going to have 3 more games at New York, August 31st through September 2nd. That will, help in deciding. But after that, it's mainly National League East teams are going to play the Phillies, the Mets, the Nationals for 4 games, and the Marlins for 6. So they've aced this really crucial part of the year, and the games are going to get a little bit easier. These NL East teams aren't exactly great. So, I mean, you like their chances. Not that it necessarily matters who gets the first place seed. I think the Rays would help them a little bit, even without fans, to play that 3-game series at home. But to answer your question in earnest, I'd say I really like the Rays' chances right now if they can continue on this roll. Hopefully the bullpen can stay intact. You always kind of have your fingers crossed with that. And I'm hoping that Morton can come back healthy. No one's really been talking about it. If you ask me, I expect Chirinos to get shut down from the year. He had the triceps inflammation, comes back first start, 3 innings or so, and now elbow stuff. There's been rumblings that maybe it's going to be some Tommy John surgery. I'm not going that far until I hear it officially. But you see that sometimes with pitchers. Obviously, if the tricep is hurt, then you're pitching more with the rest of your arm, and then you're putting stress on other body parts, and then that wears out. It's a chain reaction, and it never really works out. And the way the Rays are cautious, I mean, Chirinos was one of their better pitching prospects a few years ago, so I would expect him to maybe go on ice, and then you're going to have to really play. Hopefully, if Morton comes back this weekend strong, you're really just going to be looking for one starter, and maybe you put Trevor Richards in that 5 spot in the rotation. I think Beeks has kind of changed his role. He was a starter at times last year, following opener type, but I think these last 2 games, Cash said himself, he expects Beeks to come on late in games as more of a late inning reliever type, and I think that ultimately could work out for the better. I think it's really a matter of necessity that's happening. I don't think that move would have been made normally. I thought he was going to end up being stretched out to start, but they end up kind of going more so with Richards for that, and that's fine. But the late inning guys going down, obviously Drake has been out missing some time. I think we'll get him back soon. And it looks like Alvarado is probably going to miss another 10 days or so, but really hasn't looked the same really since, April or May of last year. So I mentioned this last night, the 7, 8, 9 inning guys, we thought it was going to be Diego Castillo in the 7th, and then it was Alvarado setting it up in the 8th for Nick Anderson in the 9th, and that just really hasn't been the case. Usually it's Nick Anderson coming on in a key spot, 6th, 7th, or 8th inning, and then you piece it the rest of the way. Castillo has been fine. He gets the win tonight, but I believe he did give up a home run. So, I mean, the bullpen, the back end, it is what it is. Beeks, again, is going to be on the back end. That's ultimately the point. So hopefully that can all stay together, but you like what the offense is doing, and you think if they can keep that going at least, the pitching will be good enough. I mean, if the pitcher can hold the opponent to 3 or 4 runs every night, you got to like really what this team can do. So now getting into the inning-by-inning breakdown, as I've pretty much gone and said everything besides that. Again, it was an opener for the Rays, Curtis opening with Richards following, and then for the Yankees it was Paxton. Kind of another Paxton versus the Rays, kind of where he had a no-hitter, I believe, going through 4 innings or so, and then the Rays end up chasing him late. He's going to go on the injured list, it looks like, with some sort of issue. In the top of the first, Paxton puts him down 1-2-3. Bottom of the first, it was Luke Voigt with a solo home run. Went 473 feet dead center to Monument Park. They got Togman over to second base but couldn't bring him home. So at the end of 1, it's 1-0 Yanks. So it looked, obviously Curtis not a successful open. He ends up only going 1 1/3, an earned run on 3 hits, a walk, a strikeout. Obviously that home run. 38 pitches, 25 of which were for strikes. He was 6 for 8 as far as first pitch strikes. His stuff was good, but the Yankees were seeing him well. I don't quite know what to make of the performance. I like Thompson as an opener. Probably Castillo will open for a game maybe in the playoffs. We'll see if they can get that far. So Curtis, not a successful open, obviously, because he gave up a run, but it was all fine. Top of the second, Adames got a walk, but that was it. Again, Paxton had a no-hitter going for a little while there. Bottom of the inning, Curtis puts 2 on and 1 out for Trevor Richards, and he comes in and cleans it up. So obviously you thought at that point Richards, who had gone 4 scoreless against the Yankees a couple of Sundays ago, thinks that maybe he can duplicate that performance. Obviously, it's not easy. That he was probably kind of treating it as most bulkmen do as a start, kind of in their routine, but you come on with 2 men on and 1 out. Ends up getting out of it, which I thought was impressive. If you want to talk some highlights there. Top of the third, Paxton strikes out the side, so he's really rolling there. The Rays hitters just were looking not good, off balanced. Same story as last time. Bottom of the inning, it was second and third with 1 out. They get a run across. Gleyber Torres with an RBI ground out. He ends up hamstring tightness or something, has to come out of the game. It was Tyler Wade finishing at shortstop, who could not make a play on a Wendell hit ball. And that made it 2-0 Yankees. Top of the fourth, the Rays went down again 1-2-3. And then bottom of the fourth, it was Eric Kratz singling, but that was it. The former Ray picked up a couple of hits, which was kind of unexpected. Top of the fifth, where it really got interesting, the Rays broke up the no-hitter, take a 3-2 lead. It was Adames and Margot both walking with 1 out, so men at first and second. Adames moved up to third on a wild pitch, and then Joey Wendell doubles, ends up getting to third base, and that tied up the game with 1 swing of the bat. I mean, it's pretty impressive. You break up a no-hitter and tie the game with 1 swing. That was cool to see. Wendell, I believe that I don't know. I don't think that was the go-ahead run ultimately. No, but I mean it was good to take the lead. Wendell has been relatively clutch. He goes 2 for 4, knocks in 3 runs in total. So that was good. I love him in the 8 spot right now. I think that really works. Zunino walks after that, so it's men on the corners, and then Brasso with a sac fly to score Wendell. It's 3-2, and then Meadows struck out to end the inning. So after the fifth, the Rays did have the lead. And then bottom of the fifth, Richards end up coming out in the middle, and the Yankees respond. Voit singled, and then Richards struck out Talkman, and then Kevin Cash came out to get Richards. His line finished at 3 innings, 2 earned runs on 4 hits, no walks, which was good, 2 strikeouts, 76 pitches, 50 of those were for strikes. His ERA right now is under 6. Kind of what you expect from a guy who's a 5th starter / kind of bulk man. I mentioned this yesterday. I mean, talk about a fleecing of Richards can end up, being a decent emergency starter, and with kind of the god tier status of what Nick Anderson has become in the bullpen, and all you had to give up for him was Ryan Stanek and prospect Justin Williams, who didn't look like he had much of a future in the Rays organization with the way the outfield was kind of set up. The Rays definitely won another trade there. But Richards, I mean, obviously, the no walks was good. The changeup was certainly fooling some hitters, but he didn't walk guys, but he was behind in counts a lot, and that meant that Richards had to give Yankees pitchers to hit, and they did so to the tune of 4 hits over 3 innings. So for what this was, I didn't love the Rays' chances today. Ultimately, they score 10 runs and get to Paxton, and that was the difference. So ultimately, you can't complain too much. The 5th starter, obviously, the traditional nature is you expect your offense is going to have to play pretty well on the day of the 5th starter in order to get a chance to win, and the Rays do just that, so you can't complain. Diego Castillo comes in. The first pitch he throws to Gio Urshela, and Gio takes him deep, a 2-run homer that made it 4-3 Yankees. I don't blame Castillo at all. I believe it was a fastball or maybe even a cutter that had wicked movement. I believe it was 93 or 94, and ran into Urshela, and somehow he pulls it to left and gets that ball out of there. Obviously, Gio Urshela has been kind of a godsend for the Yankees. Great third base player as far as the fielder, and the hitting has been clutch. The fact that he's batting at the top of the order. He batted cleanup today for the Yankees. Castillo caught a tough break. Recently for the Rays, most of the home runs against them have been pitched and not hit. As Dave Will says, you just give them a pitch to absolutely clobber. That pitch was not that way. I thought it was a good pitch. I mean, it looked like a fastball kind of down the middle, and then it kind of ran in quick. And then, I don't know, Urshela just somehow put the bat on it and got it and pulled it to left. But at that point, the Yankees had the lead, and, with the way the bullpen was lined up, it was going to be some B and some C guys today out of the pen. And it was just that, but it ultimately ended up being enough. So 4-3 Yankees, and then Castillo retires the next two in Estrada and Gardner, and then we go to the top of the sixth. It was a 5-run inning for the Rays. They get aggressive versus Ottavino, ended up taking the lead versus Avalon. I believe it was still they take out Paxton after 5, and it's Ottavino to start the sixth. So the Yankees go aggressive as well, going to their A bullpen in the sixth inning just to try and keep obviously that 1-run lead and avoid the sweep and keep first place. That was probably important to Boone. Diaz gets it started with the leadoff double right down the line, which was good to see, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was Brandon Lau pinch hitting, I believe. Let me see who it was for. Pinch hit for Jose Martinez. So against the righty of Ottavino. The fact that Brandon Lau was supposed to get a day off. Cash was aggressive. He goes for the pinch hit in the sixth, especially with a good reliever like Ottavino. So pinch hits the righty, Martinez for the lefty, Lau to get the righty-lefty advantage. Lau ends up walking to put men at first and second with nobody out. And then Choi pinch hits for Hunter Renfroe, so it's getting another lefty in to face the righty Ottavino. And it was a deep line out. It was a play where Gardner made a nice running catch, and Diaz kind of misread it. He has had some woes on the base path. He's obviously not a quick, speedy guy. Again, I just wanted to mention number to call, 877-566-1020, number to call if you want to talk Rays. Diaz probably could have tagged and gone to third, and then, with one out, you could have scored him and tied with a sac fly. Obviously, if the game had ended up being close, that would have been certainly a talking point, but it's fine. Adames strikes out after that, and it was Margot with a bloop RBI single. I believe that was the one over the glove of Tyler Wade that could have been an out, maybe if Torres was there. And that tied the game at 4, and it was runners at the corners with 2 outs at that point. Again, the 2-out rally Rays continue. Ottavino comes out, Avalon in. Ottavino ended up taking the loss. He's now 2-2, 2/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs on 2 hits, so not good appearance for a really good reliever for the Yankees. Again, Paxton's line, I didn't give it to you. 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs on 1 hit, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts, 83 pitches, 51 of which were for strikes. And really, when he was rolling, it was because of that 15 of 20 as far as the first pitch strikes. And it looks like he's going to miss some time on the injured list. So another loss for the Yankees in what has been another nightmarish season as far as injuries are concerned. They are still 16-9 in second place behind the Tampa Bay Rays, but what can you do about that? So Avalon comes in. It was kind of funny. The Fox Sports or the Yes cameras caught it. Avalon tripped on his warm-up throws, and that kind of set the scene for what would become of Avalon. It was Wendell with an RBI single. It was about a foot short of being a home run. We know from the short porch and right, the cheapest home run in baseball, as it's kind of referred to. The way it looked like it was going to go foul, Wendell ended up keeping it fair, and it was legitimately a foot shy of being a home run, and instead it's a single. So that was just kind of funny. Wendell, you can't say he got screwed, because that would have been a cheap home run either way. Yandy ended up getting one a little bit later, but it scores a run and makes it 5-4 Rays, and that ended up being the difference. So good for Wendell with a couple of clutch RBIs. He's been quite clutch, I would say, this year. He's batting .281 and on base at .349. And then it was Zunino, a 389-foot 3-run homer to left, 110 miles off the bat. The stat that they used, that they talk about a lot on the radio with Dave and Andy and 620 WDAE, that would have been a home run in all 30 ballparks. It was absolutely demolished. Good for Zunino, homering in back-to-back games. That made it 8-4 Rays and really blew the game open. Brasso doubles, and Meadows flies out to end the inning. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Ryan Thompson gives up a run, but Beeks comes in to clean it up. It was Castillo getting Frazier out and then leaves the game for Thompson. So Castillo ends up getting a couple of outs, gives up an earned run on a hit. It was that home run to Urshela. 6 pitches, 6 for strikes. That was his first earned run of the year. He now has a 1.08 ERA. Ultimately, he had a bases loaded jam situation he got himself into earlier in the series and got out of it. without giving up any runs. So ultimately, I think you like kind of what we're seeing from him. We saw him early on in this contest, and so maybe Cash doesn't trust him late in games right now, but we'll see kind of with the way that progresses. So he comes out, Ryan Thompson comes in, gets Kratz to ground out, Tyler Wade doubles, and then Hicks walks in 4 pitches, so that puts the men on, and then Voit with an RBI single to make it 8-5. So Ryan Thompson comes out at that point. Thompson 2 outs, gives up an earned run on 2 hits. Walks the man, obviously, throws 19 pitches, so I'm not sure we'll see him tomorrow. We'll see. We'll talk about that after. And then Jalen Beeks comes in again. Jalen Beeks, and he even admitted it after the game, his first real save. The adrenaline was pumping. Kind of an interesting note that I heard. I'm trying to remember. Jalen Beeks, a guy that kind of his struggle has been not keeping the foot on the gas. He can kind of let hitters get away from him and get in jams. Obviously, when you're trying to save in a safe situation in Yankee Stadium, obviously you're not going to have any issues as far as the foot not being on the gas. So I think maybe this could end up being the right move as far as transitioning Jalen Beeks to the back end of the bullpen. He comes in today in another clutch situation and has an inning and a third of perfect baseball. He comes in for Ryan Thompson and gets Mike Tauchman, who was the tying run, to ground out and end the inning. We head to the top of the 7th. It was a G-Man Choi hit, but that's it. Avalon came out, Holder came in, but that was about it. Bottom of the 7th, Beeks puts him down in order, 1, 2, 3. It was the top of the order, Urshela, Estrada, and Gardner. So Beeks, obviously impressive. Top of the 8th, a 1, 2, 3 inning for the Rays. And then in the bottom, it was Aaron Slegers comes in and gets the 1, 2, 3 hitters, puts him down 1, 2, 3. It was Clint Frazier, Eric Kratz, and Tyler Wade. So it was actually the 7, 8, 9 hitters, which was a good spot for Slegers. Gets a hole with his first 9, only throws 9 pitches in an inning of work, so that was good. Maybe we'll see him tomorrow. Top of the 9th, the Rays add some insurance. Yandy Diaz gets his first homer. It was Brasos getting it started with the walk, and Yandy Diaz, 344 feet to right, gets his first homer run of the year to make it 10-5 Rays. And they ran the stats on it on the broadcast, and they said that Yankee Stadium is the only ballpark where that would have been a home run. So Yandy kind of catches a break. He was laughing about it in the dugout. As good as Yandy Diaz has been, it was good for him, I think, to get his first home run, and maybe it'll kind of snowball into some big hits. Obviously, the doubles off the wall is kind of Yandy Diaz's game. Again, 90% of his hits this year have been singles. But, I mean, getting on base has been great. We look at his on-base percentage. It's .394 right now. So you get on base 40% of the time. That's a good piece at the top of the order. He's been late on his swing, so it makes sense that it went opposite field. That's where a lot of his hits have been. And the short right field porch ended up working out. And then in the 9th, Aaron Loops shuts the door. It was Hicks, Voit, and Tauchman. Then he gets down to 1, 2, 3. So 8 pitches, gets an inning clean. Slegers and Loop did well, but kind of mop-up duty, a 5-run lead, but still Loop. No drama, getting it done quickly. Again, the Rays win 10-5. Improved to 17-9 and cap a 9-1 road trip. This was the toughest test, I think, for the Rays this year. And again, they aced it with flying colors. You got to love how you feel. They're now in first place in the American League East, and I think they'll be able to keep it. We'll see. And maybe traded back and forth a couple of times. The only time these teams will meet again in the regular season, August 31st through September 2nd, in Yankee Stadium for another 3 games. They're all night games, so that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the starters aren't aligned yet, as that's about 10 or 11 so days away. Again, as we wrap up the program, if you want to get on, I know we have some people listening, and we thank the people that are for tuning in tonight. 877-566-1020 is the number to call. I wanted to see if I had any other takeaways. I mean, the bullpen did its job. I like Beeks in the back end. I think that's going to be a narrative that kind of will take off from here. Castillo gave up a home run, but it was a good pitch. You like what you're seeing from him. He gave up his first earned run of the year today in about 10 or so innings pitched. So I think he's an option in the back end. Richards was okay. Throws 76 pitches in 3 innings of work, but that's kind of the nature of the opener So they get through 4 and a third with Curtis and Richards, and the bullpen finds a way to piece it together. A Yankees lineup that's a bit depleted, but obviously it's different playing in Yankee Stadium with no fans, but maybe putting that narrative of the House of Horrors in Yankee Stadium to bed. So hopefully that'll work out for the best. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was preview tomorrow's contest. It'll be a rematch of the second game of the year between Matt Shoemaker, the righty, and the lefty of Ryan Yarbrough. Shoemaker is 0-1 on the year with a 5.23 ERA. Yarbrough 0-2 with a 4.13 ERA. We look at their last couple of starts for Shoemaker. His last start was against the Rays. He's made 2 starts against the Rays this year. It was that extra inning game on Sunday that went into the 8th, that 7-5, where Willie had the home run. He went 4 innings, pitched 3 earned runs on 3 hits, a home run, a walk, 7 strikeouts. In his other start against the Rays, he went 6 innings, an earned run, and 3 hits. Also of note, I believe it was Matt Shoemaker, if I'm not mistaken, because he would have gone even longer. I don't know who it was hit at the home run, but earlier in the at bat, it was a ball. I was listening to the radio, so I didn't watch it. But the word was, or basically the way they were saying it was a pitch that should have been called a strike to end the inning, and it was called a ball, and that batter ended up hitting a home run. And I think it was after the inning, Shoemaker was coming out and was just chewing the ref a new one, and he ends up getting tossed out of the game. So I'm sure that'll be maybe a narrative that gets played tomorrow. The righty, 33 years old. And then for the Rays, Ryan Yarbrough, we look at, he's had a couple starts against the Blue Jays as well. His first start was 5 1/3, no earned runs on 4 hits, and his last start on Saturday, 3 innings pitched, I should say, no earned runs on 4 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts. So hopefully we can get a little more than 3 innings out of him. That would be the goal. Obviously the bullpen is not in a great place right now. Look at guys, it is Fairbanks, Anderson, and Chaz Rowe. They got the day off today coming off a back-to-back, so I'm sure they'll all be available. The guys that won't be, Jalen Beeks, Diego Castillo, and Ryan Thompson have all finished a back-to-back, so they'll all be out. And then maybe some other guys. Aaron Loop could play. He only pitched, I think, 8 times or so. Let's see, he threw 8 pitches, so he could be available. Also, Slaggers, who threw 9. And then maybe Anthony Bonda as a dark horse if they need some bulk innings. He threw 3 innings in an appearance against the Red Sox about over a week ago, and that's it for him. So they have some options. Maybe Anderson in a high leverage spot. Bo Bichette is not going to be available for the series, and that completely changes things with the way their lineup works. So you like their chances. With Matt Shoemaker being a righty, I would expect them to load the lefties up, go Meadows in left, or actually, the way I would do it, I would go Yoshi in left, Kiermaier in center, and then maybe Meadows in right. And then in the infield, I would put Wendell at third base, and Adames at short, Lau at second, Choi at first base, and I assume they'll go Perez to catch to give Zunino a day off. He started a day game after a night game, which is a bit unusual. So Perez to catch. Probably for Ryan Yarbrough. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll be a good win for the Rays. They've played pretty well against the Blue Jays this year. We put a wrap on the show. We ended up going almost an hour, which is more than I thought. We had a question come in on Spreaker, so that was good to see. We know I had some people listening. We thank everyone who did tune in to the show tonight. It was great talking to all of you at home. Some good games tonight. Definitely check out this Lakers and Trailblazers game. Make sure to be a dandy. We'll be talking hockey within the next couple of days as the first round wraps up. Obviously, the Lightning advance. That's all dandy. We'll be on tomorrow after the Rays game. It's a 6:40 start, so maybe 10 o'clock or so. Don't miss us. We'll be on and follow the WHBC stream, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.